Shake no day. My fellow countrymen and women, good evening across our national territory and all of you in exile. I have come today to talk about a series of issues, but before I get into those very important issues, I would like to announce the theme for this year's October 1 celebration. The theme of this year's celebration is Defeated, Live Now. I repeat, defeated, live now. From the 1st of January, when Grandpa in Bali met with elements of the Ambazonian Defense Forces and made a compelling speech, our forces across the territory have increased their assault on the enemy and have inflicted heavy casualties on the forces of occupation, completely demoralizing them and destabilizing the plans that Cameroon has hatched in the past 2 years in terms of the massacre of civilian population and continuous assault on our military installations. This year has been, we have observed a monumental shift in strategy with the use of IEDs to impede and slow Cameroon's forces' movement into our villages for purposes of atrocities and burning down of our villages. And so we can confidently say that Cameroon is defeated in Ambazonia. It has the choice of living before it is completely humiliated, or of negotiating its way and finding a just solution to 60 years of rapacious policies that has cost the lives of millions of our people. I want to thank the bravery of our forces who have in the past 4 years shown exceptional character in the way they've conducted themselves and in the way that they have defended their blocks, and most especially how they have evolved, knowing fully well that our possibilities are limited. Our forces have become ingenious in the way they have adapted to Cameroon's strategies and to the changing geopolitical and socioeconomic dynamics of the region. So the theme of this year's October 1 celebration is to celebrate our victory over our 60-year-old foe who declared war on us and promised to defeat us in a few weeks. 4.5 years into the war, Cameroon soldiers are crying in the battlefield. They are being shipped back to Cameroon in body bags. Families are mourning. Cameroon politicians and stakeholders have been questioning the ability of Cameroon to achieve any meaningful gains with a military solution. We have successfully, as the strategy was designed to achieve, caused a discussion within Cameroon, a discussion that never existed before this phase of the resistance. All Cameroonians were bonded in unison to the illusion that Ambazonia was their slave and they had powers to determine whether we live or die, and that the bounties of our soil was theirs, and that our protest against their political attitude and military incursions into our territory was simply an agitation of a disgruntled minority. 4.5 years into this war, we have not only shown them that We aren't a disgruntled minority. We are an organized people who've been able to erect an army, well-trained, equipped, and an army that follows its code of conduct, an army that protects its civilian population, an army that serves with honor and pride in defense of the flag and our anthem. And I want to, on behalf of all of our people, extend our gratitude to our forces and to our population that have supported them with food, loyalty, and all sorts of acclamations. So we shall celebrate this year with honor and pride for our determination, for our resilience, and for our ability to overcome adversity in the face of insurmountable odds. All of our people in the diaspora are called upon to join our people in the homeland to organize rallies in the United States, in the Baltimore area. On the 1st of October, there will be a massive parade by our people. We call on those in South Africa, those in Europe, those in Australia, those in the Middle East, those in Asia, those in jail. Take pride in your forces, celebrate your victory over an avowed enemy that has imposed a lot of pain and hardship on us. We must claim this victory and ask them to leave now, so we can have the opportunity to expand our community schools and implant them across different areas under our control and begin to properly give our children proper education that is a reflection of their contextual, economic, and sociopolitical realities. An educational system that is going to be rooted in the realities of our people to live a life in dignity and honor. And we think they should leave now because they are defeated, so we can begin the tenuous process of reconstruction, bringing back our IDPs and looking after those who have gone through a lot of pain and hardship. My fellow countrymen and women, I would also want to salute the courage of our refugees. Those in Mexico. You know, we always think we have refugees only in Biafra land or in Nigeria. The Ambazonian refugees in Libya, the Ambazonian refugees all over the globe, in the eastern part of Europe, in Bulgaria and Hungary, who are going through difficulties, who haven't gotten their asylum application properly heard or been given a positive decision. There are thousands of our people who are facing deportation from Central European countries, from the United States of America. There are thousands of our people living illegally because the asylum application has been denied. There are thousands of Ambazonians who have been denied the right to apply for asylum because they probably must have violated the Dublin Convention. And so we think we must think about all of these refugees. We know the refugees in Biafra land and in Nigeria are facing particular difficulties. That is why we're developing a policy position that is far-reaching, that would see most of these refugees move to other countries. What we have to know is this: Biafra land is unsafe for our refugees. Nigeria is not safe for our refugees because of the alliance between Cameroon and Nigeria that saw the kidnapping and rendition of Ambazonians from both Biafra and from Nigeria. Hundreds of Ambazonians were renditioned from Biafra and Nigeria and subjected to kangaroo military trials. Some have been sentenced to life in jail. Nigeria has permitted or shown a blind eye to the incursion of Cameroon forces into Biafra land, and they have assaulted our people within that land. So in the face of this insecurity, it is important for the United Nations Refugee Organization or Agency to invoke one of its 4 pillars, which is that of resettlement, that where refugees are facing peril, where they have applied and gotten asylum, it is the responsibility of the international community to move them further. The records show that last year alone, the UNHCR moved more than 6,000 citizens from the Democratic Republic of Congo, who are either IDPs or living in no man's land. Thousands of Eritreans were resettled. Thousands of Somalians were resettled. We are observing tens of thousands of Afghans being moved. Tens of thousands of Syrians have been resettled. And we think it is possible for all Ambazonians who are facing this state of insecurity in Biafra to be resettled. We will be sending out specific requests, and our people across the globe should open their doors and show hospitality should this come to fruition, to receive refugees who have gone through a lot of trauma. We reject completely the politicization of refugees or the exploitation of their pain for public relations issues. And we think we are well organized enough as a people, strong enough as a people to work together and find long-term solutions to these people facing difficulties. A few days ago, a lady, an Ambazonian refugee, gave birth to twins, and she lost her life because of the conditions under which, she was living. And so these are situations that must be taken seriously by every Ambazonian across the globe. And we will work extremely very hard to ensure that we can facilitate our movement of especially the vulnerable. My team, my policy team and foreign affairs have been working on specific issues. And the Department of Human Rights and Humanitarian Affairs, under the new leadership of Comrade Akoson Raymond, is going to also work on this to make sure that he takes it forward. He has a lot of experience. He's a refugee himself. He's worked on many refugee cases. And we will be counting on his expertise and due diligence and competence to make sure that we can achieve these very ambitious objectives. My fellow countrymen and women, as I said, I want to thank my peers for presenting the statement from the Office of the Vice President of the Ambazonian Governing Council. In the backdrop of a couple of discussions that have been taking place internationally, events that have been happening at the level of the UN Security Council, the level of different regional agencies of the United Nations, and in the capitals of many countries. I had to send an invitation to the Swiss envoy, Ambassador Bechle, to come over to Norway for some discussions. He was joined by a representative of the HD. I was joined by my vice president and the chief of staff. These are serious moments. What we must know is this: the international system works on the basis of the primacy of the state. The state has primacy on a lot of issues, except when states are incapable or unwilling and their actions or inactions have consequences beyond their borders, can the international system step in. And one of our strategies in our liberation struggle was to ensure that we can circumvent the primacy of the state in terms of dealing with the issues of resolving, the conflict between Ambazonia and Cameroon, because our experience has shown on little issues that there is no domestic solution to the issue of the decolonization of Ambazonia, that we could not expect the colonizer to adjudicate the decolonization process. And so we worked extremely very hard to bring the Ambazonian question at the level of the international community, and we have successfully achieved that. And as I announced a couple of years ago, we have become an international contender. So too is in diplomacy. There is a primacy of a facilitator who opts to facilitate. And that's how we found ourselves in what I describe as the Swiss intention, because there is no Swiss process. A process can only happen when both parties to the conflict are committed to it. But there is a Swiss intention to facilitate, a negotiated solution to the conflict between Ambazonia and Cameroon. Thus far, Ambazonia is represented by different movements, and most of these movements have committed to a negotiated solution. Cameroon has failed to commit to a negotiated settlement of the conflict. Cameroon has opted for a military solution, the consequences of which are the displaced, more than 4 million Ambazonians affected, more than 1 million Ambazonians internally are displaced. Hundreds of thousands of Ambazonians are living as refugees in Nigeria, in Cameroon, across different states in Africa, and even in Mexico. The consequences of Cameroon's desire for a military solution are the burning down of more than 500 villages, the systematic practice of torture as an instrument of war, the arrest, kidnap, and rendition of thousands of Ambazonians scattered across jails in Cameroon under difficult conditions of inhumanity, subjected constantly to psychological torture, lack of representations in Cameroon's kangaroo military tribunal, the failure of the international community to declare Ambazonia as party to the 4 Geneva Conventions in order to change the status of our prisoners to prisoners of war, denying Cameroon the right to use its domestic courts and laws to try them. The consequences of Cameroon's desire for a military victory is the amount of suffering that has been imposed on our people, suffering documented by reputable international humanitarian organizations. And as we are aware, the consequences of this attitude is the declaration by the Norwegian Refugee Council of this conflict being one of the most neglected conflicts in the world. The consequences of the brutality of Cameroon is that of committing international crimes, crimes amounting to genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, crimes of aggression, which is a violation of the UN Charter. My fellow Ambazonians, Cameroon has refused to exit on the negotiation table because it believes it can replay 1961, where it can unilaterally hijack our independence, marshal its forces into our land, and design a system of rule of impunity, deprivation, exclusion, and the imposition of terror. The consequences of this is what we are seeing across the entire region. Instability caused by Cameroon's recklessness, violation of international human rights and humanitarian law. In the face of this, the international system has been powerless. The Swiss have been incapable of altering the attitude of the actors in Yaoundé. That was the basis to be able to assess Switzerland's continuous involvement, denying any other nation the opportunity to take that role, maybe with a more robust mandate, with more muscles, to be able to force Cameroon to commit to negotiate its surrender and exit from our homeland. As has been presented by my press secretary, both parties assess this reality, and we will be monitoring the situation in the next few months, and we will make a compelling statement by the end of this year. The reason why we have not at this moment called for the Swiss to leave is to avoid leaving a void that will not be immediately filled. But we think the Swiss have been incapable of using any leverage to force Cameroon to commit. We also think Cameroon has virtually no respect for the Swiss. First, I would also like to thank Ambassador Bechley for honoring that invitation, and thank him for the frank and honest assessment that we had. And as I promised, the Ambazonian Governing Council will continue to show leadership, sensible leadership, a leadership that is evidence-based in all aspects, whether in defense or in diplomacy, a leadership that will bestow on Ambazonia respect, and that will show the international community that we are a better alternative to the squalor, unpredictability, instability that reigns from Yaoundé. The Ambazonian Governing Council, under my leadership and that of the Vice President, will show leadership in every aspect. We have successfully, in the past 4 years, altered the agitative attitude of certain individuals and movements, the unpredictability that those leaderships have shown, either in attempting to suspend ghost towns, in calling for unilateral ceasefire, and in undertaking actions that undermine the image of Ambazonia as a credible alternative to the instability that reigns across our border. We will go out there and lead and direct and show Ambazonians the best pathway to their complete freedom. What we must realize, all through history, an oppressed people have never begged for negotiation. In all struggles that we have studied, only the oppressor works hard to see the establishment of a credible system of negotiation to permit it to exit the oppressed's land without humiliation. Our attitude has been wanting in this aspect, and I think we have come a long way, and I can promise you that our leadership in this aspect will be robust, will show that we understand how the international system operates, and that we are schooled in the art of negotiations. But our focus as an oppressed people should be to continue to resist Cameroon's rapacious policies, brutality in our territory. We have a responsibility to defend the independence that was restored and affirmed. Our responsibility is to protect the territorial integrity of our country. Our responsibility as an oppressed people is to defend the livelihood of our population. Our responsibility is to ensure we arm every Ambazonian still living, to give them the chance to protect their lives and our territorial integrity. Our primary responsibility is to expel Cameroon from our homeland by force and to take actions that undermine its ability to exercise power and control in our homeland, to take actions that impede and stop Cameroon's exploitation of our natural resources to build a large army which it uses to oppress us, to make sure we destabilize Cameroon to the extent where the collaterals within our territory that it uses for international financial gains are denied it. Our primary responsibility as an oppressed people is to use whatever means available at our disposal in this moment of existential threat to defend our lives, our people, and our homeland. When we must have imposed such a cost on Cameroon, it will be the one to appeal to the international community to help establish a credible system that will help it exit our land in peace. Until then, we must continue to bludgeon Cameroon. We must continue to battle Cameroon. We must continue to supply our forces with assault and heavy machine guns and IEDs to stop their forces going across into our territory. Our soldiers have thus far done a great job, but we are not there until we are there. And we must continuously, as a people under oppression, provide to our forces what they require to get the job done. My fellow Ambazonians, I would also like to say a few words on the issue of Biafra. I haven't made a public statement on the kidnapping and rendition of my friend Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I call on Mr. Buhari, the president of Nigeria, not to make the mistake of Mr. Biya, to release my friend and the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra and engage him in a negotiation on the aspirations of the Biafran people. That is a sensible way to approach the Biafran question in the 21st century. The Biafrans are a powerful people. They are a resource people. Nigeria might have taken their land, but it has not taken their identity. And Nigeria must recognize that the military solution, kidnapping and rendition of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and other Biafran leaders is a futile and desperate attempt that is going to end in humiliation in the same way that Cameroon has been humiliated. My fellow people, we have fought a good fight. We've still got many battles to fight, and we must be prepared. We must be prepared as a people to defend our independence and to begin to work as one people to begin to develop the economic ideas, the infrastructure ideas, the kinds of ideas that would uplift Ambazonia from this state of perpetual uncertainty and poverty to a pedestal of hope. My fellow people, as we come to celebrate our independence, I ask all of you to commit and rededicate your life to the defense of our independence, the protection of our people, so all of us can deliver to the next generation a better country than we ever got. God bless you all. God bless our forces, our refugees, our prisoners, our mothers, our fighters in Bui who are doing a marvelous job, those in Fako, those in Momo. Kudos to the 7 Qatars. My best wishes to the families of the fallen ones. I want all of us to remember that today is the anniversary of Lake Nyos, the day Cameroon caused a great disaster on our people in the great state of Menchum. We remember all those who lost their lives. We mourn with those families. We send our best wishes to the people of Menchum, and we promise them our brave fighters will liberate them from the yoke of colonialism and to investigate and bring all those who caused that very, very sad event to justice. God bless Ambazonia.
Hail this land of glory, we the Ambazonian, special loyalty. Praises to our Savior who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the hero who brought the lonely gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
This has been a live address by the leader of the Ambazonia War of Independence. Thanks for staying with ACN, the Liberation TV of Ambazonia. Welcome to ACN. The Liberation TV of Ambazonia.